I'm going to preview the 1 seed UCLA versus 2 seed UConn women's basketball game, which will literally be played on April 4th at 8 p.m. Central Time, or a little bit later, depending on that Texas South Carolina game on ESPN. Regardless, it's in Tampa, Florida, aka Tampa Bay, Florida. When you look it up online, like in the Malie Arena, MALIE. So, and as of right now, UConn is favored by 8.5 points, and this is UCLA's first Final Four game ever in women's basketball history. So congrats to them, no matter what happens here. And obviously, same thing goes for UConn here, on to making back to the Final Four game. So, and you know the matchup predictor does like UConn in this game, 71.7% compared to UCLA's 28.3%. And UCLA on the year is 34-2, and both of those losses are to USC with Juju Watkins, while UConn is 35-3 on the year. And I will also mention that they did defeat USC without Juju Watkins, but that was expected once Juju was out for the year and everything. So, and UConn's trying to go back to the national title game for the first time since 2022. So it's been a little bit of time since they've been to the national title game. I'm going to start with the UCLA side of things first on what players are keeping on. And this is no particular order on the points per game. Here, and you can tell on the iPad, like if you go under ESPN, it doesn't show points per game. I mean, like stats for like a certain team or anything like that. You would have to go to a different game and then go like starters and backups and everything. So I'm going to just go ahead and mention the first player off the bat for UCLA to keep an eye on is Lauren Betts, and she's coming back next year. She is for sure. Number 51, 6'7" center. That's a junior. 20 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game, 2.8 assists per game, 2.7 turnovers per game, 0.9 steals per game, 3 blocks per game, 1.8 fouls per game, 61% on free throws on 154 attempts. There's Gabriela Jaquez. Jaquez, number 11, 6-foot guard. That's a junior. 9.9 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists per game, 0.9 turnovers per game, 0.6 steals per game, 1.9 fouls per game, 82.6% on free throws on 46 attempts, 36% on threes on 86 attempts. There's Angela Dugalic, number 32, a 6'4" forward. That's a senior. 7.4 points per game, 5.7 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game, 1.5 turnovers per game, 1.4 steals per game, 0.8 blocks per game, 1.9 fouls per game, 81.4% on free throws on 43 attempts, 36% on threes on 89 attempts. So she can shoot the ball from three, even with her height. So, and there's Linda Jones, number 3, 5'4" guard. That's a junior, 8.7 points per game, 1.8 turnovers per game, 0.9 steals per game with 2.1 fouls per game, 80.5% on free throws on 81 attempts, 35.3% on threes on 204 attempts. There's Kiki Rice, number 1, a 5'11" guard. That's a junior, 12.9 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 5.1 assists per game, 2.1 turnovers per game, 1.5 steals per game, 1.6 fouls per game, 87.5% on free throws on 128 attempts, 36.1% on threes on 83 attempts. So that's all the starters to mention, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the bench players now. And I will say UCLA is deep. Number 30, Tamia Gardner is number 30, 6'3" forward. That's a junior. 7.7 points per game, 3.5 rebounds per game, 1 turnover per game, 1.3 fouls per game. 84% on free throws, but that's on 25 attempts. 39.9% on threes on 158 attempts. So despite her height, she can shoot the ball. So you got to be aware of that if you're UConn in this type of game. There's Janiyah Barker, number 0, 6'4" forward. That's a junior. 7.5 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 2.3 turnovers per game, 0.6 steals per game, 2.3 fouls per game, 65.3% on free throws on 95 attempts, 15.6% on threes on 32 attempts. It is Elena Arnisalo, AARNISALO. Number 7, 5'10" guard. That's a freshman. 5.1 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, 3.5 assists per game, 2 turnovers per game, 0.7 steals per game, 1.3 fouls per game, 77.4% on free throws on 31 attempts, 26.2% on threes on 61 attempts. So I'm going to just go over like really one more player in this. Kendall Dudley, just in case she does play. Number 22, a 6'2" forward. That's a freshman. 1.9 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game, 0.6 turnovers per game, 1.4 fouls per game, 21.4% on free throws on 14 attempts, 0 for 9 on threes. So, yeah, that's pretty much all the players to keep an eye on for UCLA. I'm going to just double check real fast. Yep, that's all the ones that you really need to be aware of. Now, UConn side of things, we all know that Paige Bueckers is definitely gone after this year, and she's the first player I'm going ahead to mention here. Try to get to it. Number 5, a 6-foot guard that's a senior. 20.1 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists per game, 1.4 turnovers per game, 2.1 steals per game, 0.8 blocks per game, 1.1 fouls per game, 88.8% on free throws on 116 attempts, 43.2% on threes on 162 attempts. And there's Azzy Fudd, who has decided to come back for another year of eligibility. Number 35, 5'11" guard, that's a senior. 13.1 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, 1 turnover per game, 1.3 steals per game, 1 foul per game, 89.7% on threes on 29 attempts, 44.1% on 89.7% on free throws on 29 attempts, 44.1% on threes on 170 attempts. There's Sarah Strong, number 21, a 6'2" forward, that's a freshman. 16.1 points per game, 8.8 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists per game, 1.6 turnovers per game, 2.3 steals per game, 1.6 blocks per game, 1.6 fouls per game, 74.3% on free throws on 70 attempts, 37.1% on threes on 43 attempts. This Jenna L. Alfie, which I know she only played like 10 minutes last game, but still. Number 8, a 6'5" center, that's a freshman. 5.1 points per game, 5.1 rebounds per game, 2.2 turnovers per game, 0.6 blocks per game, 1.8 fouls per game, 52.9% on free throws on 51 attempts, 1 for 4 on threes. This Caitlin Chen, which she was a grad transfer. Number 20, 5'9" guard, that's a senior, and she's from Princeton, by the way. 7.1 points per game, 3.3 assists per game, 1.7 turnovers per game, 1.2 steals per game, 1.4 fouls per game, 83.3% on free throws on 36 attempts, 36.7% on threes on 79 attempts. So that's all the starters right there. And now I'm going to go over the bench players from here. The first one is Ashlyn Shade, number 12, 5'10" guard. That's a sophomore, 8 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, 0.6 turnovers per game, 1.4 steals per game, 1.3 fouls per game, 73.7% on free throws on 19 attempts, 41.3% on threes on 126 attempts. This KK Arnold, number 2, a 5'9" guard. That's a sophomore, 5.3 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, 2.8 assists per game, 1.2 turnovers per game, 1.6 steals per game, 1.4 fouls per game, 70.6% on free throws on 51 attempts, 21.3% on threes on 47 attempts. There's Aubrey Griffin, and I don't know how much she's going to really play, but still, a guy make a note of that. Number 44, 6'1" forward, that's a senior. 4.9 points per game, 3.7 rebounds per game, 0.6 steals per game, 0.6 fouls per game, 83.3% on free throws on 24 attempts, 0 for 3 on threes. And the last player we're going to really mention is Ice Brady, number 25. 6'3" forward. That's a sophomore. 3.6 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, 0.9 turnovers per game, 0.6 steals per game, 1.8 fouls per game. 2/3 on free throws, but that's on 24 attempts, 3 for 10 on threes. So I'm pretty sure that's all the players really going to mention here, but I'm going to just go to the Oklahoma game real fast. And if nothing else, you know all the players that you should know. I'm not going to go over every single player for both of these teams. There's no way I'm going to do that. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all the players you're going to need, pretty much you need to know. So you got to do this for your seniors / your players that are already declared for the WNBA draft. I mean, like a Paige Beckers, for example. And who knows what transportal these days, but you still get the point. You got to hustle the other team. You got to adjust to the officiating, and hopefully there is good officiating for this game. And you got to adjust to the physicality of the game. You got to make adjustments to the fly. Honestly, you want to limit your foul trouble while getting them in foul trouble. You got to stay calm and composed and don't get like a technical foul or flagrant foul. I mean, you can't be intimidated by the other team. You got to try to take away the fans from the opposing team out of the game as much as possible while getting your fans involved. I mean, just telling the truth across the board. You got to have your bench players step up, and even your role players need to step up in this type of game because it does make a difference at times. Besides, your star players need to show up, of course. Now, defensively, you got to shut down the best players as much as possible. Contain the shooters, contain the slashers. Don't give open looks. You got to limit the second chance points, which goes into, like, you got to get some defensive boards and limit those offensive rebounds. You got to limit the points in the paint some. Don't want them to live at the free throw line either. You got to limit their transition points for both of these teams. And points out turnovers, because it does make a difference in this type of game. When you're in a Final Four, you're going to try to go to the national championship. It does make a difference. And another thing across the board too, you got to be good in late game situations as well. So, both offense and defense. Now on offense, you got to take care of the ball. You got to get good shots. In terms of shot selection, you got to make 3-pointers. You got to make your free throws count. Because it could make a difference. You got to get some points out turnovers. You got to get some second chance points in the paint. I know it's just generic, but it's just telling the truth about this game. And you do need to make sure you don't get stagnant on offense too much. And don't let this game for both of these teams get too big for your own good. And like, as in getting your own head. That, this is really the Final Four here. And you don't end up playing good. And whatever you did right last game, you got to bring it to this game. Whatever you did wrong last game, you got to correct this for this type of game. Now, I do think, honestly, that UConn got the, like, both these teams had an easier Elite Eight game. I mean, UConn played USC without Juju Watkins. And granted, I know USC did fight back some. I get it. But that's besides the point. And UCLA had a tougher one. And LSU when they were healthy. I mean, that's the thing. And for all those seniors, you do not want to end your last career game on a loss. So you got to go out there. Have no regrets. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like, subscribe, and see you guys later on the road. 800 subscribers, course, ultimate goal is 1,000 more. So remind this course, like video, comment video, really helps YouTube background. Some more people see it. Sharing the video does help as well. So more people can watch. And if you're watching, and not subscribe, hit subscribe with the free notification bell as well. And neither of these two teams played each other this year. When you look at the non-con. Yeah, and obviously they're different conferences. I mean, UCLA is in the Big Ten. And UConn's in the Big East. So, that's just making another note right there.